Welcome to the midnight shift of the human mind. Cities are built to make us feel safe. Millions of people packed together behind locked doors and glowing windows. But when the clock strikes 2 in the morning and the streets empty out, the concrete jungle becomes a very different kind of wilderness. The streetlights cast long shadows, and the silence is only broken by the distant hum of traffic. In the deep woods, you expect to find predators, but on a well-lit city sidewalk, the most terrifying thing you can encounter is a glitch in human behavior. Tonight, we are exploring one of the most chilling, widely reported urban legends of the modern internet era. A true story of psychological terror that proves the uncanny valley is real, and it walks among us. This is Chapter 1. The Waltz. In the early spring of 2012, a 24-year-old man named Michael was walking home from a friend's apartment in Seattle, Washington. It was a Tuesday night. The time was exactly 2:15 in the morning. Michael lived only a mile away. He had walked this exact route dozens of times. The street was a long, straight avenue lined with closed storefronts and tall apartment buildings. The orange glow of the sodium street lamps illuminated the empty sidewalks. There were no cars. There were no sirens. The city was completely asleep. Michael was halfway home, enjoying the crisp night air, when he noticed a figure standing on the same side of the street, about a block ahead of him. In a city, seeing someone walking late at night is not unusual, but Michael immediately felt a cold knot form in his stomach. It was not the presence of the man that was terrifying. It was the way he was moving. The man was not walking. He was dancing. It was a bizarre, exaggerated waltz. He would take 2 sweeping steps forward, twirl, and then take another 2 steps. He was moving in a chaotic, unpredictable rhythm, but he was heading directly toward Michael. Michael slowed his pace. He instinctively crossed the street to put as much distance as possible between himself and the strange dancer. He kept his eyes fixed forward, trying not to draw attention to himself. A standard survival tactic for late-night city walking. As Michael reached the opposite sidewalk, he glanced back over his shoulder. The dancing man had stopped. He was standing perfectly still under a street lamp, completely parallel to Michael on the other side of the avenue. He was wearing an old, ill-fitting, vintage suit. His posture was rigid, his arms resting flat against his sides. But his face is what made Michael's heart stop. The man's head was tilted back at a sharp, unnatural angle, staring up at the dark sky. And he was smiling. It was not a friendly smile. It was a massive, cartoonish grin that stretched impossibly wide across his face, exposing his teeth. His eyes were wide open, bulging with a manic, unblinking intensity. Michael froze. The street was dead silent. The 2 men stood on opposite sides of the road, separated by 40 feet of empty asphalt. And then the smiling man slowly lowered his head, locking those massive, unblinking eyes directly onto Michael. The man did not break his gaze. He simply raised his foot and took one massive, exaggerated step off the sidewalk, straight into the street. When we return in Chapter 2, we will explore the terrifying psychology of the uncanny valley, and what happens when the smiling man decides to close the distance. Welcome back. There is a concept in psychology known as the uncanny valley. It is the deep biological revulsion we feel when we see something that looks almost exactly human, but not quite. Our brains are hardwired to recognize the subtle cues of normal behavior. When those cues are missing or exaggerated, our survival instinct triggers a singular command: run. This is Chapter 2. The Pursuit. Michael stood frozen on the sidewalk as the smiling man took his first exaggerated step into the empty street. The man was not walking like a normal human. His legs kicked out in wide, unnatural arcs, his leather shoes slapping loudly against the cold asphalt, and his face never changed. The massive, unblinking smile remained locked onto Michael, even as his body moved in chaotic, disjointed rhythms. Michael's temporary paralysis broke. He turned his back on the smiling man and began to walk quickly down the sidewalk. He did not run. Running in a city at 2 in the morning implies vulnerability. Running means you are prey. He kept his eyes focused straight ahead, his heart hammering against his ribs. He counted to 10 in his head, desperately hoping the strange encounter was just a bizarre prank by a drunken stranger. When he reached 10, he risked a quick glance over his shoulder. The smiling man was no longer dancing in the street. He was on the exact same sidewalk as Michael, only 20 feet behind him. And he was not dancing anymore. He was speed walking. The man was taking massive, exaggerated strides, walking entirely on the tips of his toes. He was moving with a terrifying, unnatural speed, yet his upper body remained completely rigid. His arms were still pinned perfectly flat against his sides, and his head was still tilted upward. That horrific, cartoonish smile was glowing under the orange streetlights. Logic completely left Michael's body. He broke into a dead sprint. He ran blindly down the empty Seattle Avenue. The heavy silence of the sleeping city was shattered by the sound of his own ragged breathing and his sneakers pounding the concrete. He did not care about drawing attention. He just wanted to put the lights of an open gas station or a late-night diner between himself and the man. He sprinted for a full city block before looking back. The smiling man was not running. He was doing that bizarre, twirling waltz again, leaping down the sidewalk in a strange, zigzag pattern. But somehow, he was moving incredibly fast. He was closing the distance effortlessly, entirely silently, maintaining the exact same terrifying expression. When we return in Chapter 3, we will explore the final confrontation and what happens when the smiling man finally catches up in the dark. Welcome to our third and final chapter. Fear is a biological response designed to keep us alive. It floods our system with adrenaline, forcing us to either fight the threat or run from it. But what happens when the threat does not make sense? When the predator is not trying to eat you or rob you, but simply wants to break your mind. This is Chapter 3, the final stand. Michael ran until his lungs felt like they were bleeding. His sneakers hammered against the cold concrete of the Seattle Avenue. He did not look back. He just kept his eyes locked on the glowing neon sign of a 24-hour gas station sitting at a major intersection, exactly 1 block away. He crossed the empty street, completely ignoring the red pedestrian lights. He threw himself onto the brightly lit sidewalk of the intersection, bathed in the harsh white glow of the gas station canopy. There was a car parked at pump number 4. A man was pumping gas, looking at his phone. There was light. There was civilization. Michael bent over, resting his hands on his knees, gasping for air. His heart was beating so hard it hurt his ribs. He felt safe. The lights were a barrier. Slowly, terrifyingly, he turned around to look back down the dark avenue he had just sprinted from. The smiling man had not stopped. He was standing exactly at the edge of the darkness, right where the harsh white light of the gas station met the dim orange glow of the street lamps. He was about 40 feet away from Michael. He was not running anymore. He was standing perfectly still, his vintage suit hanging off his rigid frame. His arms were pinned flat to his sides. His head was still tilted back, and that massive, unblinking, cartoonish smile was stretched across his face, exposing his teeth to the bright lights. He was just staring. Michael could not speak. He could not yell for help. He was completely paralyzed by the sheer, uncanny wrongness of the man. For 30 agonizing seconds, and then the smiling man slowly raised his right arm. It was a stiff, mechanical motion, like a broken animatronic. He pointed a single, pale finger directly at Michael. He did not say a word. He held the point for 5 seconds. Then he lowered his arm, turned his back, and began to dance again. He did that same bizarre, exaggerated waltz. 2 sweeping steps forward, a twirl, and another 2 steps. He danced down the dark, empty avenue. Michael walked the rest of the way home with a pocket knife open in his hand. He never saw the man again. He never found out if it was a prank, a madman, or something entirely different. But he never walked down an empty city street at 2 in the morning ever again. We fear the woods because they are wild and unknown. But the smiling man is a terrifying reminder that the most unsettling things do not hide in the wilderness. Sometimes they wear human clothes, they walk our streets, and they wait for us in the dark. Thank you for surviving this true journey into urban terror. If you have ever encountered something unexplainable on an empty city street, leave your story in the comments below. The uncanny valley is closer than you think. If you made it to the end of this documentary, please subscribe to Deep Story. Turn on the notification bell and leave a like to support our deep dives into the terrifying unknown. Always look over your shoulder, stay in the light, and I will see you in the next nightmare.